The U.S. government shutdown has now lasted over a month, putting increasing pressure on the nation's air travel system. This situation has led to widespread flight delays and disruptions at many airports. A serious shortage of air traffic controllers, with many working without pay during the shutdown, has forced the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, to cut flights at 40 of the busiest U.S. airports to address safety issues and operational strain. These cuts started with a 4% reduction and are expected to rise to 10% by mid-November during peak daylight hours. This significantly affects air traffic at major hubs like Newark in New Jersey, George Bush Intercontinental in Houston, Dallas-Fort Worth International, Chicago O'Hare, Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, Denver International, and all three airports in the New York City area.
Controllers are making decisions about their families and their income, and some of them are not coming to work. It's a problem. I want them to come to work and do their jobs, but that's the reality that I deal with. And so we'll reduce that pressure, which is what we want to do. Now, does that mean there's going to be no delays? No, Brian, there's potentially still going to be delays.
Delays have worsened recently, with some airports seeing waits of several hours and long security lines. This has severely impacted passenger experiences. For example, Newark Airport reported delays of 2 to 3 hours, while other major hubs in Texas and Chicago faced numerous disruptions over weekends. The staffing crisis also affects Transportation Security Administration, TSA agents, with around 13,000 air traffic controllers and about 50,000 TSA employees working without pay. This situation leads to more sick calls and fatigue-related absences. These shortages create bottlenecks at security checkpoints and slow down aircraft handling, making delays even worse. The FAA's mandatory flight reductions aim to reduce controller fatigue and maintain safety, but they also limit the number of flights airlines can run, leading to cancellations and rescheduling.
And then, Mr. President, there's air travel. Yesterday, the Transportation Secretary announced that as a matter of safety, the Department of Transportation is requiring mandatory reduction in air traffic starting tomorrow because of shutdown staffing issues. That means widespread flight cancellations, supply chain issues, hundreds of thousands of passengers dealing with disruptions to travel every day. The impact this will have will be immense. And all of it because Democrats cannot bring themselves to accept a clean, nonpartisan funding resolution, something that happened 13 times when they had the majority.
Travelers have shown increasing frustration as the shutdown drags on, with many deciding to cancel or change their plans because of the uncertainty. Airlines are trying to manage these sudden operational limits, often canceling hundreds of flights each day and cutting routes primarily to and from small to medium cities. While international flights are not affected by these cuts, domestic travel is heavily impacted. The Department of Transportation requires airlines to refund passengers for canceled flights regardless of ticket type, including additional fees for baggage and seat upgrades that were not used. However, airlines are not required by law to provide extra compensation for delays or cover expenses like food and lodging unless the issue is within their control. Plans for stricter rules on passenger compensation were dropped before the shutdown, leaving options for relief limited to refunds and rescheduling.
Our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible. The administrator is going to talk about all of the tools we're going to deploy. One of them, though, is going to be that there is going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations. The administrator is going to tell you that this is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where's the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure.
Experts recommend that travelers closely track flight statuses using airline apps and FAA delay trackers before going to airports to avoid being stranded. Social media platforms like Twitter, X, have also become important for quick responses from airlines to customer concerns. Passengers are urged to consider alternate transportation methods, such as trains or buses, due to unpredictable and widespread disruptions. However, the critical shortage of controllers means delays can happen anywhere at any time. Unlike isolated airline issues, this shutdown affects entire airports and regional systems uniformly, hurting reliability across the board.
It is ridiculous that we have even gotten to this place and that the Democrats have continued to shut down the government with 35 days, our air traffic controllers continuing to work unpaid, every single major airline in our country coming out and begging the Democrats to please reopen the government. And you had a Democrat staffer who was quoted, I believe in Politico a few weeks back, saying, short of planes falling out of the sky, we are not going to reopen the government. That is a reckless and dangerous statement from someone who didn't want to put their name on that statement, but we know it came from the Democrat Party. And I think we're very clear. We want to reopen the government so we can resume travel in the safest and most efficient way possible, especially as we head into the busiest travel season of the month. We have Thanksgiving in a few weeks.
In the midst of escalating chaos, airline loyalty programs can offer slightly faster customer service access. Travelers are encouraged to remain patient and polite to airline staff who are managing a high volume of calls and requests in person. The FAA's reach goes beyond commercial aviation, limiting commercial space launches to overnight hours because of the controller shortage, which impacts companies like SpaceX. As these flight reductions continue indefinitely until the shutdown ends, officials warn that this could lead to a growing crisis. Delayed flights at major hubs may disrupt national schedules and package delivery timelines, affecting millions of people every day. Transportation Secretary Duffy has noted the rising risks and called for Congress to resolve the situation to restore government operations and protect air travel safety. The transportation sector prepares for more travel disruptions, especially with the holiday season approaching, which is likely to put additional stress on an already fragile network. The length of the shutdown remains uncertain, leaving passengers, airlines, and airport operations in a state of ongoing disruption and unpredictability.